Yeah, so large women said I had to get a job because I like this large guy. He's a real man. He's kind of big and burly. Large women like to read his book because he sounds smart. No, really, he's like a large old guy who's still around because he's a real man. Large women like his book, right? He's a real man. I know. No, just attacking your panties, ma'am. No. This is a real man writing a book. He's a real man. It's a real man writing a book. Based on true criminals. He had help. Like, it was based, lots of these stories were real. Like, these stories were real. Like, I'd kill the whole Dupont family real. Like, they're based on true stories. Like, I'd kill the whole Dupont family. Like, I don't care. Cindy traveled, striding down from town. Yeah, I know, City Slicker. I don't know. It's in San Francisco. I don't know. She worked there. I don't know. Ground floor of a new residential high-rise, using the time to return calls, book appointments, set up her day. She paused near the recently rejuvenated Caltrain station that used to be a hell pit of homeless druggies, now and much improved as the neighborhood gentrified took hold. But behind the Caltrain station was a fenced-off and buckled stretch of sidewalk that ran along the train yard. Rusted junkers and vans from the Jimi Hendrix era parked on the street. The vehicles were crash pads for the homeless. Huh? As Cindy mentally geared up for her power walk through that no-fly zone, she noticed a clump of street people ahead, and some of them seemed to be crying. Cindy hesitated. Then she drew her laminated ID card out of her coat, held it in front of her like a badge, pushed her way into the crowd, and it parted for her. The Alabama trees shooting up through the cracks of the pavement cast a netted shade of a pile of rags, old newspapers, and fast food trash that was lying at the base of the chain link fence. Cindy felt a wave of nausea sucked in her breath. Pile of rags was in fact a dead man. His clothes were blood-soaked and his face was so beaten to mush, Cindy couldn't make out his features. She asked the bystander what happened. Who is this man? The bystander was a heavy-set woman, toothless, wearing many layers and textures of clothes. Her legs were bandaged to the knees and her nose was pink from crying. She gave Cindy a sidelong look. He's B-Bag Man Jesus. Someone killed him. Cindy dialed 911 on her trio, reported that what had clearly been a murder and waited for the police to arrive. As she waited, street people gathered around her. These were the unwashed, the uncounted, the unnoticed, fringe people who slipped through the cracks those where the Census Bureau feared to tread. They stank and they twitched and they stammered and scratched. They jockeyed to get closer to Cindy. They reached out to touch her, talked over, corrected one another. They wanted to be heard. And although a half hour ago Cindy would have avoided all contact with them, she now wanted very much to hear them. As time passed, the police didn't come. Cindy felt a story budding, getting ready to bloom. She used herself again, called a friend Lindsay at home. The phone rang 6 times for a masculine voice rip. Hello sounded to Cindy like maybe she had heard of Lindsay and Joe at an opportune moment. Before timing, Cindy, Joe panted. Sorry, Joe, really, Cindy, I've got to speak with Lindsay. See these books? See, the mental ward was filled with the Jimi Hendrix stuff, huh? People who said they had talent. They were in the mental ward, had talent, and nobody cared. People like Pfizer survived Nazis where they were robbed of what they had so it wasn't good enough. See, Pfizer survived by being a doctor, dealing with people who were working on stuff. People worked on stuff and were called mental patients, like they took their stuff so it wasn't good enough for them. These fringe people in the mental ward saying, I was working on stuff and it wasn't good enough for you because I just want to take what you had Jimi Hendrix that they just ganged up on. The French people in this book were at the mental ward where they were going to be like Jimi Hendrix. The French people that were afraid were like, Jimi Hendrix, these people thought they're going to make something, but there's so many of them. Like Secretariat, where the great racehorse with all these other great people now. See, Secretariat has some really great horses out of him, and they're all much better now. It's like Secretariat's kids were all so much better that it's fierce and competitive. It's like Secretariat had all these other kids competing, and they were so much better. The French people realized, great, but the Secretariat had all these kids. They're so much better. It's called some horse shit story.